Welcome to this question and answer session with the Pattern Trader. My name is Mark Shawzin, the Pattern Trader. I'll be happy to take any questions you have. So where I ended up last week, I said that the two stocks that you need to put on your radar are QS, QuantumScape, and ZM, Zoom. And I thought both of these stocks were poised for a massive decline. And that's exactly what we've seen. So last Wednesday, I did a webinar in front of about 500 people. And, after the market, QuantumScape closed at a price of about $40.85. And I said, basically, there's no risk to shorting the stock. I couldn't see how there was any more upside potential in that stock. And since then, QuantumScape has crashed about 30%. It's trading about $10 lower from the $41 level that I was looking at just last Wednesday. We're trading about 31.5 right now. Similarly, Zoom, very negative price action today. Zoom went up to about 324, and then it's trading. 334, and is now trading $13 lower at 321. Hey Eric, how you doing? How was your weekend? What are you looking at? So I was just basically going over a couple stocks that I had on my radar last week: QuantumScape and QS and ZM. And I said those two stocks were poised for a massive decline. And since I said that last week, QuantumScape has dropped from $41, trading around $31 now. Zoom went to $335 today and is trading at $321. So Zoom is something that I think is going to really get hit hard now. It's been, doing a lot of work between the 300 and the 330. And now we tried that 335 area again, and now we're trading 321. So I think this time we're going to go through 310, we're going to go through 300, and then, it looks like 275 is upcoming. So Eric says you were right about Tesla. It couldn't hold 700. So yeah, I mean, this may be the big turn in the markets that we've been looking for. Trees don't grow to the sky, and I think that this market is discounting so much good news now. All of the good news is in the market, and now, I think that we're poised for, at least a consolidation, if not, a sizable, some sizable work lower. But that being said, some stocks are going to go up, some are going to go down. So what questions do you guys have? What are you trading? What are you looking at? I trade everything. I trade FX. I trade everything. I think the dollar's now poised for, a good fall. I think the dollar's going to go lower. So AUX says XAU got rolled out. So yeah, I despite the fact that we put in a pretty good bottom there, I don't know about rolled. I mean, I'm very skeptical of the upside here. Even though it looks like there's a double bottom price pattern, I think that was a pattern that just gave way to a short burst, and I think we probably go back down in gold. Any questions? Anything on your mind? What are you guys trading? So let me know if you have any questions, if you want me to take a look at any charts. I'm short QS, I'm short ZM, and I'm long the stock WRK. Yeah, it's kind of had a nasty reversal too. Made a new high today, and then, it backed off, but I still think there's a lot of upside on WRK. So Wall Street Jim says, are you strictly technical, or do you add fundamentals? I would say I'm 99% technical. I've always got some, if there's some fundamental that then aligns with the technicals, then it's even better. But I would just say, to answer your question, I strictly look at price action. And just by strictly looking at price action, if you're objective, the markets will tell you where they're going. And, QuantumScape, I did a webinar last Wednesday. There were like 500 people on the webinar. The webinar was 5 p.m. Eastern time. The markets here close at 4 p.m. So I had no extra insight as to what was going to happen. QuantumScape closed at $40.85 last Wednesday. And I said, this is it. I said, I can't see any risk that this stock is going to go up. This thing is perched on a ledge and it's ready to just fall off the ledge. And now we're trading at $31, $10 lower, 30% lower than where I said just Wednesday, 3 trading sessions ago. So that's all I needed. I don't know anything about QuantumScape. I don't look at the fundamentals. I don't think I even know what the company does. I think it's got some battery or EV or I don't know what it does. I don't care. I just look at price action. A picture is worth 1,000 words. And same for Zoom. You know, I know they do video conferencing. I don't look at their balance sheet. I don't know what they're going to earn or not going to earn. All I know is they're going to zoom lower. Farron says today's action on Lyft. Yeah, you know, I'm long Lyft. I'm also long some call options for that expire at the end of this week. So if this thing doesn't get going, I'm going to be in a whole bunch of trouble on those call options. Yeah, and it looks like, you know, look, I think, you know, we're in for a major turn in the market not too far from here. So let's see what happens with Lyft. Lyft had a huge key reversal last week. So, you know, let's see what happens. But yeah, it looks like there's a lot of resistance here, and it may just take several weeks to work through Farron's. But that was the case when Lyft initially broke out. So when Lyft broke out from 40 to 50, it spent about 6 weeks just going sideways between 48.50, 48.50. It did that for 6 weeks. Then it hit like 51. Then it rolled all the way to 44. So to me, that was just an opportunity. And I stepped in and you know, bought it with both barrels. And frankly, if you got, you know, several dollar sell-off in Lyft, I would just buy into that. Now, the overlay is I think you could start getting overall market weakness. So stocks are just going to have a gravitational pull now lower. But, you know, Lyft is something that if, you know, you can buy it lower, I would. I think it's got earnings coming out May 12th. And so if you own the stock, you can just sit in it. And I think the earnings will propel that higher. So MK says, could you cover the NASDAQ? So I think, you know, I did in my weekly video report yesterday, you know, I showed how the S&P was trading right at the top of an ascending, broadening price pattern on the weekly. And, you know, we're starting to come off a little bit today, but just kind of look at these. It's still really within the cadence. It's not really anything dramatic. Well, the NASDAQ is coming off more than the... So, you know, we come right back up to a previous high. And whenever you come up to a previous high, you know, you don't normally cut through it like a knife through butter. So there's some turbulence here. I don't know if that's going to quite turn into a, you know, an opportunity for a big sell-off here. I think it has to do more work up here. So the indexes are a little bit deceiving. To my mind, right now, the indexes are still inherently strong. But, you know, there's a whole rotation within the market. So the indexes aren't reflecting. So, you know, the NASDAQ is, you know, driven higher by Microsoft and Google. And, you know, those companies are still looking good. And so the NASDAQ is kept stronger. But if you look at all of the stocks, you know, in the second tier, you know, Peloton and Zoom and QuantumScape, those stocks are collapsing. So I'm kind of focusing on the individual stocks rather than the indexes right now. I mean, I made a whole bunch of money 2 months ago shorting the NASDAQ. And I will, you know, when it looks right, I'll short it again. I'm not sure that, you know, it's quite ready to go for a huge fall like it was 2 months ago. Dog wants to know FDMT. I love it when you guys bring me new ticker symbols. Yeah, that looks like it's done. The whole life of whatever that is, you know, has put a giant double top at this 55, and now you are trading under the neckline. You've broken through the neckline. So this looks really good. I'm actually going to jot that one down, put that on my radar too. So that's the thing with stocks. There's just so many, ticker symbols that you could follow. But that looks like it's you can short that. FDMT. Put that on my. Also, like DraftKings, DKNG. That thing looks like it's setting up for a fall. I just want to see the options in this. Probably no volume in this options FDMT. Let me just check this out real quick. Trading at $32. So the good thing about these are far out options, so they expire. So the 30 puts, there's no volume in FDMT, but you could probably short the stock. Probably not a whole lot of volume in the stock either. Yeah, it's only got 84,000 shares. So I mean, you could short it, but I'd rather just short Zoom. Daniel says I had Lyft at 64.20, so you're selling it, Daniel? I'm not sure. So Lyft, I don't think I would be short. I mean, it looks like it could roll here, but I don't know. I wouldn't short that stock. Hey, Mustafa, thanks for the support. Mustafa is saying hit the like button. Thanks, Mustafa. You're my biggest fan. I appreciate it. Cyprian says XNDX. XNDX. Is that it? I don't think I got it right. No, it's YNDX. YNDX. Looks good too. I don't know what the volume is in this. It's enough volume. Let me just check the weekly out here. Yeah, that thing looks like it's ready to roll. Hard to tell sometimes on these. Yeah, that thing's got a double top and a head and shoulders. And Cyprian, the right shoulder sitting under the left, which makes the neckline a drooping downward sloping. That makes it even more bearish. So I'm going to write that one down too. Problem with me is that when I see something, I just load up. I put all my money in there, so then now I got nothing left over for other stuff. I've got like 15,000 shares of Zoom short right now. And, typically I would buy the options, but the Zoom options are just so expensive. So all my money's in like QuantumScape and Zoom. I'm also long WRK, which I'm tying up a whole bunch of money in WRK, and maybe I need to kind of untie it. It did make a new high, and I think at some point it will keep going higher. Cyprian said it's the Russian Google. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, look, it looks like it's ready to roll. I don't know if it's just gonna, there is some support, in this, $60 to $62 area. So I don't know if it's gonna break immediately. So when I'm looking at a trade like QuantumScape, like last Wednesday, was fully baked. It was ready to go. It was, fully the pattern was mature. So it's ready to go. Whereas, this, YNDX, it could go, but it may just have a lot of noise until it goes. Whereas like Zoom, I'm feeling like that thing is ready to, Zoom has got to clear that underbrush between 320 and 300. And I think it's going to do that in relatively quick fashion. And then once it does that, there's nothing under 300. 275, 250 is the next stop. So I look for things that are ready to go. And, look, this YNDX could be one of them, but, you got to pick your battles. Cyprian says, I'm short FTCH. FTCH. Yeah, that one looks like a pretty good one too. Yeah, Cyprian, you bring me good stuff. So you know what you're doing. Yeah, I think this is a kind of a double top, head and shoulders, again, with that drooping neckline. And I think that's ready to go too. So look, I think this Nasdaq is probably ready to roll here. It's ready to. I mean, it's hit a major resistance level, so that all these stocks are likely to get cracked now. And the other one, MTCH. Yeah, that looks like it's making that right shoulder. It's looking like it's ready to roll. Yeah, that looks like that could happen too. Oh, match group. Yeah. It's just some are more fertile than others. I mean, this is going to probably could go, but I think it's inherently strong. So I don't know, man. I just keep on coming back to Zoom. I think all of the risk has been taken out of that stock, especially today. So I had a sell stock stop in Zoom at 326, which was under last week's low. And today it starts coming down and it hits 326 exactly. Stops me into the trade. I was in a doctor's office and then I put up my phone and I see the thing's up like $6. It was down 5. And then when I looked at it, it was up 6. It went from 326 back to 335. And I said, you know what? I'm not gonna panic. This thing's coming down. And now it's trading at 321. So now it's gone. Now all of the risk, you won't see 335 again. You won't see 335. So, now I'm just going to keep stacking my chips. I'm going to keep shorting more because I think it's just going to fall over now. When you have this size key reversal, 335 to 321, and let's see where it goes today. It could go to 315. Who knows? So I like, that thing is just ready to go. Yeah, CAN, I like that, Cyprian, but you have to say, it's at $11. So what's your total objective is $11, which I mean, it's 100%. You can load up on this thing. It looks like it's going to go. Yeah, that does look like it's going to go. Yeah, you know what you're doing. I mean, you know what you're doing. All of those stocks are, great stocks, and they're all going to go. And so it's like I'm a kid in a candy store. I see all these names. The problem with my mentality is like when I see something, I like to, really get paid if it works out. So I tend to just load up on that. Like when I saw no risk in QuantumScape, I had all of these put options. I had the stock. And then now with Zoom, it's like, I've just got a feeling for that stock. And, now it's just hit 330 so many times. I've made a living just shorting Zoom at 330. Every time it hits 330, comes down $20. Goes back to 330, $20. It's like ringing the bell, ringing, the slot machine. And now I think it's done. Now you're not going to see 330, 335, maybe forever. Wow. Good on you, Cyprian. So you know what you're doing. Do you make money in the markets? Are you making money overall? Mustafa, what are you trading these days? You went short QS. That thing's going under $20. It's a dead guarantee. Eric says I'm shorting BLNK. Yeah, all those EV plays are just getting creamed. Creamed. That's why you can't buy stories. Yeah. That's good night, Irene, also. Yeah, all these EV plays, F-Cell, Plug, creamed. They look good. I mean, you think, well, the future's EV, so I gotta invest in EV. But that's why I only look at the charts, because if you look at fundamentals, to whoever asked me before, the fundamentals for EV, I mean, the prospects look like they're infinite. That's going to be the future. So why shouldn't I invest in the future? But then you look at the picture of these things and they look like they're ready to get destroyed. That's why you cannot play stories. And I think this whole market has been a story. That's why I think it's poised for a huge collapse at some point. The whole thing is a story. It's fantasy. It's gone up on free money. What's your target on a ZM? Probably about 150 bucks. Um, yeah, trading 321. Yeah, that thing, kiss it goodnight. Actually, you know what? I'm going to short some more while I'm on with you. That thing's got no freaking risk in it. And, the way it went up today and then it couldn't hold. So there must have been some news that came out. And then once, it couldn't hold the news or whatever sent it up. Uh, yeah, yeah, Cyprian, I would, short any rally on, yeah, I think you can start shorting the rallies. So, for a year, it's been buying the dips. Now I think the NASDAQ, certainly in certain stocks, Quantum State goes up a buck or two, just short into it. Zoom goes up at $3, short into it. Yeah. I'm sorry, Shane, I didn't answer your question about dollar Canadian. Let me just get to that and check out what's going on there. Yeah, it's just farting around in this range, but I think the major trend is lower. But the dollar pairs, as I've said, are likely just to go in this dollar. These dollar pairs can go in these ranges for 6 months, and so that's the thing. I think the dollar is weaker, but maybe you've got to sell into the dollar rallies too, instead of like I put a sell stop and on dollar Canadian instead of shorting into weakness. You got to sell into strength. But I think if you stay short dollar Canadian, it depends what your patience level is. You should be okay. Fabian said, "What about Bitcoin?" I can't trade Bitcoin right now. I mean, I'm pissed that I didn't buy it earlier. I did buy it earlier. I took a loss and then I never came back. And so, if I wasn't in at 15,000, very hard to buy it at 60,000. And I don't really understand what Bitcoin is. Nobody can to this day explain to me what Bitcoin is. If it's a store of value, a store of value doesn't lose value 15% in a day. So that's not an argument to me. So I don't know. I can't, to me, any market that goes up parabolic, I mean, it just goes this way, like a hockey puck, a hockey stick. Those always end in tears. And this has been a parabolic move. I can't buy it here. Cyprian says I have a buy stop on pound yen. Yeah, these yen pairs, I'm kind of on the fence, but I do think, yeah, I think pound yen looks, yeah, I think there's a lot of support in this area. But you see, euro yen is starting to roll over, dollar yen. So the yen pairs I'm just waiting for a little bit more time. Yeah, so dollar yen is crashing. So dollar yen looks like it's going to go back to 102. And when it goes back to 102, this time it'll probably go to 97. So I think you can short dollar yen. That's why I'm not kind of buying, even though pound yen looks like there's some strength here. I feel like I can just get caught in a buzz saw at some point. It could go higher, and then if I miss it, it's down 300 pips against me. So I'm kind of not chasing these things, but the way this dollar yen's looking, you got to get short that. Bolshevik Russia says Bitcoin is a fraud. It's just X's and O's on a computer trading. That's what I think too. But a lot of institutions are getting in there. But there's been stupid money before. Carter, thanks for that. I appreciate it. PLTR, Palantir, I think that's freaking gone too. Yeah, that's over. That's a story stock, and it's sitting right on this neckline now. It's sitting right on this ledge that QuantumScape was last week. It's done all this work. It's got a huge double top at 45. It's got these massive right shoulders. It's sitting on this neckline. And let's see, this 2026, anything under $20, this thing's got nothing but air under it. It's going to get planted, face planted. So there's this woman, Kathy Wood, who runs ARK, ETF, ARKK. I think she's a fucking fraud. Everyone, the millennials really love this woman. She's the new Berkshire, Warren Buffett. But she has Palantir and Tesla and all these companies in there, and I think ARK is going to go down to ARKK. So, Eric, I think I got to leave Tesla alone for now. I want to see how this shake out. We're kind of having a reversal higher today. Let's see where we close today. But I still think this thing looks vulnerable. That key reversal from 780 down to 730 last week, didn't look good for the stock. So, I think this thing's very vulnerable. So let's kind of see the next couple days action. Trey, gold. So, I'm not surprised about gold. I'm kind of on the fence about gold. On one hand, it's got a perfect looking double bottom. On the other hand, I can't really draw in my mind its trajectory higher. So I think gold's going to be difficult in here. We're likely just to go into a buzzsaw between 1800 and 1750. But yeah, we have a double bottom, and I think it just needs to do a lot of work. It's like pound New Zealand. When it had a double bottom, it was like 2 months of sideways thing before it went up again. So I think gold, you just kind of leave alone for now. Talking about pound New Zealand, I said, even despite the 600 pip sell-off last week, this thing's going higher. It's going higher. And today we have a huge washout back to 195. I just kept them. I just kept my long pound New Zealand, even despite the 600 pip sell-off. I was in at 193. I bought some more at 196. It's back to 195. You just gotta, be a believer in that pattern. So Bolshevik Russia, Kathy Wood's picks and ideas are used by thousands on YouTube. That's what I'm worried about. She is like the guru to the millennials, and they take her seriously, and they're going to go down for the count because they don't understand price action. It's funny when you say she's a fraud. I think she's misleading people. She said Tesla's going to 3,000. So I think she's hyping her stock. And these millennials are just so drawn to her because she had a good run. But that's the thing. Anybody can make money in a bull market, right? You could have thrown a dart at the NASDAQ for the last year and been a genius. Let's see now. So this is a stock picker's market. Now you got to know what you're doing. Let's see how it all works out. Cyprian says, I'm short Baidu. Yeah, that thing looks like it's rolling over too. Yeah, you're... you know what you're doing, Cyprian. Fidel says, I always panic. Well, if you understand the patterns, Fidel, that's what keeps me on the straight and narrow. So even though Zoom, the long-term charts, say that this thing is done, but it's just been really choppy, hit 300, and then it's just been in this range between 330 and 300, backing and filling. And today I got short at 326, right on the low. 10 minutes later, I look at my phone, it's trading at 335. But I said, you know what? I understand the pattern. I understand the long-term pattern that is governing this thing. So if you understand the pattern and the trend that is dictating or governing it, yes, you will get all kinds of moves, counter-trend moves. And you've got to, understand the good ones from the bad ones. And I just stayed short, and now we're trading at 321. So my shorts at 326 are now $5 in the money, as well as the shorts I had overnight. Where is Zoom? 322. Kirby says Kathy Wood is a massive risk taker. Yeah, it's easy to take risk with somebody else's money. And the problem is a lot of young kids are following her, and they're going to fall into a financial grave. I haven't really been looking at sugar, Lance. I was a commodities broker for 20 years, and I traded every commodity under the sun. But I just been looking at these Nasdaq stocks. I've been making a fortune in the last 3 months. Started with buying Lyft at 44. Bought the call options, bought the stock, ran that up $20. Then I shorted the Nasdaq. I bought some puts just before the crash. I bought the puts on QuantumScape last week. So I don't know. I've been doing just really well in these Nasdaq stocks. So I've kind of been. That's really what my focus is right now. Cyprian says, all I do is I learn from you, following you for more than 1 year. I'm very grateful for all the work you do for us. Hey, I'm really, that means a lot to me. And Cyprian, if you would be good enough to share some of your thoughts. So I'm going to put a link in the chat box here. If you guys really could share your thoughts, good, bad, or indifferent, I would appreciate it. We have one person that is just out to, I don't know, take my business down. He's not even a member. He's never been a customer. He keeps, every day, he posts a negative review on our website. We've got to go to Google. We get it removed. Then he puts it back on. But it gives people a very misleading idea of what I do. And so if I can counter it with more people who've had a real experience with me, I would really appreciate it. Kirby says XPE. Sorry, EXPE, Expedia. Yeah, that actually still looks strong. So that's what I mean. It's a market of stocks, not a stock market. Some are going higher, some are going lower. And all of the second tier tech stocks are going lower because of high interest rates, decelerating cash flows. So, but some solid stocks, the reopen trade, this kind of stuff, that thing looks like, the path of least resistance is higher. You probably have to be patient. Yeah, Mustafa, you got to be careful about getting married to trades. When you see things and then they don't work out. So for me, I think if I look at the last certainly the last several months, I've taken some big knocks. I mean, I buy these options and they go off the board worthless, and I lose 80 grand in a week in some of these option bets. And, if I thought about that for a second, it would really rock me. But what I try and do is just move on. Even with the winners, I've made some massive winning bets in the last couple of months. And I don't even think about it. I just say, okay, I looked at the trade, it worked out. Let's now move on to the next trade. I don't think about the money. So to me, it's just because the more you sit in a bad opportunity, it's two things are happening, or many things are happening. First off, it's chewing up your stomach. It's sucking your reserves. And you're so stressed about what's happening in that one thing. And then what it's also doing, it's costing you an opportunity. So what I've learned is just dump that as fast as you can so that you can get into something that works. And just keep on finding something that's working. Dump the stuff that's not, and don't think about the money. Because if you look at the money, I can't lose $3,000 in this. If only I could get back to even. I can't, if I take a $3,000 bet, hit that, just, think about that. I've just learned, don't even think about the money. Look at the setup. If that setup is just not happening, like I was long Euro yen, for a couple of weeks. And then it just kept on banging at this one, 31 area, not kind of working. And I go, I'm just get out of it and take that money and make it work somewhere better. So, that's, I think, and if I look at my process, and I've taken some major whacks along the way, but you just got to just dump it and focus on the next one. Find the next Zoom, find the next QuantumScape. Kirby says your timing has been beautiful. Yeah, I've been, pretty hit it pretty good. So Eric says, I'm learning to be emotionless as possible. Yeah, this is, you got to just look at that chart. Look at that chart. Don't listen to anything, and either you hear the music or you don't. And that's the thing. When I opened that chart with QuantumScape, when I was doing my webinar, I could hear the music, blaring full on. Like this is on. This is fully baked. Sometimes you see these patterns and it takes a long time for them. I mean, if you look at dollar yen, it's been trading in this descending wedge for 5 years. So that's an extreme example. But even though sometimes I see patterns, it could take 3 weeks or 3 months before that the recognition of that pattern is ready to go. And so when I saw QuantumScape, everything, it was mature. The whole pattern was ready to go. And so when, that's what I'm looking for. I'm always kind of just getting rid of trades, finding that one thing I can see where it's going to go from one level to the other. And if it's struggling and, not just dump it, look for that next one. Farron says, this is the first time in a while that all the indexes are moving in the same direction, even the transport. So I don't know if you saw my weekly newsletter, Farron, yesterday. I said the S&P is trading at the top end of the ascending broadening price pattern, right where the NASDAQ was when I shorted it, 2 months ago. So I think we're getting very close to some very mature objectives on these stock indexes. So, I'm sure they're going to roll in the not too distant future. But right now, instead of focusing on the indexes, I'm just dialing down into these individual stocks that I think are very ripe to fall over. So Byron says, with the liquidity of Forex, are we not better than trading these setups? So I trade Forex too, Byron. It's just the opportunities in FX have been, not as robust. I think, the dollars has been in this trading range. The yen pairs are kind of working their way out. So, pound New Zealand, I've been sitting in this pound New Zealand trade since the beginning of March. And I got in one at 193.30, the other one at like 195.61. Let me pull it up here. 196.06, I got in one. So I'm still losing on those bets, but I'll bet you in a month I won't be. Barbara says, I'm Barbara from Italy. Wow, I'd love to visit you, Barbara. I was just talking to my wife today. I said, we got to go to Europe. And my mother was from Italy, from Livorno. And so I'd like to go back to my roots again. So thank you for the webinars. I hope you do more because they taught me a lot. You're welcome, Barbara. I put a link in the chat box. I'll put it again. So Barbara, if you want to say anything, I really appreciate you guys sharing. So I'm glad you got out of it, got something out of the webinars. Nathan says, have you checked pound pairs? Yeah. Like I said, I'm still long pound New Zealand. I'm still long. I still think, and that's the thing. Somebody said, well, how do you stay in and this and that? To me, the long-term patterns of pound New Zealand, there was a double bottom a couple of months ago, 185. And I think that's the bottom. So even though, last week we went to, 198? And we crashed like 600 pips. Now, that's not easy to take that downdraft. But I got in at 193. I couldn't see this thing cutting through those prices. So if something's not going to go down, it's going to go up. And I said, my video, yesterday, It's not going to be elegant. It's not going to be sexy. It's not going to be easy, but pound New Zealand is going to find a way to go higher. And right now we're just soaring higher. So I think the lows have been put in. That low under 192 last week, I don't think you're going to see that again. So if something's not going to go lower, it's certainly going to go higher. Pound US is soaring today. So, I think the pound is, one of the stronger currencies on the board. Pound Swiss franc, probably something that's ready to go higher again. So yeah, the pounds are inherently. Bolshevik Russia wants to look at BABA. Yeah, that thing looks like it's going to go lower. Analysis dropping to 227. Yeah, and probably a lot lower than that. BABA looks like it's going to go a lot lower than that, Bolshevik Russia. It's got this funky double top, but the two peaks are not in the same area. One's at 320, the other one's at like 270. So the peaks don't have to be in the same area, but I still see this M configuration. So if it gets to 214, there's a lot of air under that until like 160. So I think looks like all of these NASDAQ stocks are very vulnerable now. They went up on a lot of liquidity. And, now the chickens are going to come home to roost. Can you tell me something? So I bought these Lyft calls last week based on the reversal. And, right now Lyft is looking heavy along with all the NASDAQ stocks. So right now it's looking like there's a lot of resistance up here. I think they've got an earnings call out in May 12th, I think. So if you're in the stock, I think you should be all right. And I'm expecting after that earnings, the stock probably will go higher. But if we get into a negative market environment, it's probably going to take everything down with it. So, I'm getting hurt on these calls. Bought the $65 calls for next week for Friday. And right now, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Eric says, what do I think about Macy's, ticker symbol M? Yeah, it looks like a grind. Also looks like a double top, a funky double top. So if I had to pick a direction, I think it's going to go lower. Hey, Kirby, I really appreciate that, man. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. So Kirby said he left me an awesome review. So I don't want you just to leave reviews because, I said you should put what's in your heart. And if you say, hey, really, I like the service, then just say why, kind of elaborate. It also helps me because sometimes, and especially on this thing where I can't show you my charts, I don't know how much I'm communicating, how much is really getting across. I've been sitting in front of these screens for so long, I can just viscerally have a reaction to something. And sometimes it's not easy to explain that. Mustafa says, can we post more than one review? Yeah. Daniel says, I'm buying SQQQ. So this may be the start of a beautiful relationship, Daniel. Could be a turnaround. There's also a volatility indicator on the S&P, UVXY. And it's only it's under $5. And I think if you have some patience in that, you probably double your money. UVXY. It's a volatility. So it's 1.5 times the volatility of the S&P. And it's an inverse relationship. So when the S&P is going up, this thing's going down. Similarly, when the S&P goes down, this thing goes up. And right now, under $5, it's probably a good UVXY. I'll just put it in the So Edgar, thanks. I appreciate that. There are always people out there, haters. This one guy keeps on popping up, calling me a scammer, says, I never show my real accounts. All of these are my real accounts. Yeah, it's a screenshot on my stock accounts. I don't show the broker. only because I'm not regulated. I don't want any problems with the regulators. And I don't endorse a broker. They don't endorse me. But I can assure you, those are, I don't even know where you could find accounts like that to even show a mock account or a fake account. But I appreciate that, Edgar. I really do. So, yeah, I mean, to be honest, I won't even say a living. I don't need to make a living anymore. I make most of my money trading. I love trading. I love the markets. They're different every day. And so, I started this business just because I thought I could share something a little bit different than what's out there. And I really enjoy meeting people. I enjoy speaking to people like this. I enjoy exchanging ideas. I could be just staring at my screen all day rather than talking to you. And I've been staring at my screen for so long that this business gives me true gratification to be able to give back, be able to share ideas. And so that's why I do it. Frankly, we paid so much in marketing. We're always refining our model, and I haven't made a dime in my business in 6 months. That's the honest truth. So I don't need this business. I don't need to do it. And I'm not doing it for the money. I make plenty of money just in the markets. Ken wants to look at oil. Yeah, so oil is in this, trading zone between 58 and 60. Yeah, some of these markets are just going to go into these, trading zones. I mean, oil is, I guess, inherently strong. I think the path of least resistance is higher. So if it can get through, 70 again, then it's got a 75 as a resistance. So there's going to be a lot of backing and filling in here. But, it looks like the path of, least resistance is somewhat higher. Cyprian wants to know QFIN. So whenever I see a pattern like this, Cyprian, it looks like it's a head and shoulders, but now it's kind of going higher. This could be another fake out, and it just could be taking its time to, mature. But, I would just look at, if this starts to become a busted pattern, if, prices start coming above that right shoulder, about, $27, $28, then, this could be just, let me look at the weekly. And if I'm a little bit ambivalent about something, it's like I can't see it one way or another, like this is kind of not one way or another, then I just try and find things that aren't one way or another, that like QuantumScape, where, I get closer and closer to something that feels like it's, it's more mature, it's ready to go. Where this seems like it has to do some work before it kind of indicates one thing or another. Ken, I've not been shorting oil. I said that we were likely to, have major resistance. There was a long-term distribution at 70. And when we, hit there, a couple of weeks ago, I said this is likely, a resistance area, but, not something that I would think about, shorting. So it's like these indexes. Yeah, I can see they're at a resistance level, but I need to see more price action, put together to, start taking a look to short it. So I look for things that are more mature, that have, so if something's going to go from a huge up market to something that's now going to go the other way, it doesn't just go up and then down. I mean, you can have these V bottoms and V tops, but typically you have to build out some kind of pattern. You have to build some distance away from that up move. And so, yeah, I wouldn't look at shorting something like that. So I wasn't buying it. I wasn't shorting it. It's just now in this, kind of, I think, 60 support, 70 resistance type thing. Barbara says, I've stocked WKHS Workhorse. Maybe it'll break through. Yeah, WKH, that I know fell a ton. Yeah, that thing's over. Yeah, Barbara, I think, it's over. It's got this head and shoulders with the right shoulder much lower than the left, and a very weak right shoulder. So you can see very pronounced price action with the left, and then this kind of dribble lower on the right. And so, yeah, that thing's ready to just get kicked in also. So, you could probably put together a list of 100 of these stocks that kind of look like the same, and, pick one or two or three and, diversify. I tend to kind of go into one and just, load it up on just a few. But, yeah, that thing looks like it's the thing. Obviously, when something's $12, your whole upside is $12, and then your downside is unlimited. But in this case, it doesn't matter because I don't see that there's any risk on this thing. I can't. This thing's not going to go higher. So if it's not going to go higher, it's going to go lower. And then the question is, how much lower? Because you've only got $12 as your entire target. But because but this thing is over. It was obviously some story thing. Went from $1 to $42, and that's how I feel Bitcoin is. These parabolic markets that go from nothing to a hockey stick thing, and then it always ends in tears. I don't care. Every time people justify it that this time is different. No, I've traded these markets for decades. It's never different. It's never different. Byron says, do you have a specific way you search for trades? Byron, look, I get a lot of stuff from you guys. I go to a stock called a website called Finviz, Finviz, and you can put in your criteria, what cap stocks, which indexes. Do you want to look at patterns? So I look at that. Sometimes I just look at the crawl, see what stocks are being active, and start jotting them down. Then I'll go to the charts. So I can't say there's a specific way that I do it. I'm always looking for ideas. And then, I kind of usually just have my hit list, my hit parade, the half dozen stocks that I'm kind of looking at. Because it's, the thing about FX is that you have about 20 different pairs, and I can go through that in about 15 minutes. And, but the problem with stocks is that you have a universe of about 10,000. And, then it becomes like a kid in a candy store. It's like, you want to be everywhere. So I think it's just all shaping up the same, that all of these growth stocks, these stories that were propelled higher by either a story, a concept, a fad, or like Zoom that had probably, enormous earnings last year. But now with the reopening, they're going to be facing decelerating cash flows that have to be discounted at higher interest rates. So, you measure a company's value by discounting the future value of its income streams to the present value using an interest rate. And so, and then all of these stocks were at huge multiples. So you're going to have a multiple contraction, a contraction of cash flows, and then higher interest rates. So this is just kryptonite for all of these companies. So that's what all of these companies are looking at. They're just going to get creamed. So we had one environment that supported them, and now the reality is going to set in. And, when the pedal is, these things are just going to get detonated. When I look at Zoom, I think it'll be $100 stock. Sounds crazy now, but I do. So look for, I've been bleeding myself, but not dry yet. The reason is chasing. Listen to you, it's helping a lot. I short Zoom at 3:30, and then even when I stay at the 3:30. Thank you. Yeah, you can just close your eyes now. Look for you. Where are we? 322.5. Yeah, this reversal was, I think, the kiss of death for Zoom. It's like the stake in the heart of the longs. But I kind of contrasted Zoom last week with Quantum State. My webinar last week, I kind of showed what was a clean trade with no obstruction, meaning there's no price history to come through. Where Quantum State was literally sitting on this ledge the whole history was, $40. There was nothing underneath it. There was no support anywhere. So once it cracked that 40, it was just ready to go. Where Zoom has to clear through 320, 315, 310, 305, 300, clear through all of that price to get where it's going to go. I think it's going to do that, but it's not as clean as what QuantumScape was. But, I think hang in there and, I keep adding to my short. Bolshevik, CRISPR, C. I don't think that's not the C. Just give me the ticker symbol, Bolshevik. I think you put too many CRSP. Yeah. I look at that on occasion too. And yeah, I mean, that's a heavily touted stock, and it also looks like it's going to come apart. Yeah, all of these stocks. So you can see several months ago, Bolshevik, it in the December to February timeframe, it formed this head and shoulders, broke the neckline at 150. Now we came back to that second level. We've been trading back and forth there. Now it looks like it's going to go under there. So yeah, it looks like this market's just going to come apart. So this market has just gone up on funny money. No real fundamentals. The Microsofts of the world, the Googles of the world are earning real money, and they're trading at realistic multiples. And then there's a whole tier underneath them, like Tesla is trading at an 800 multiple. That you have to look at the future, value of their income streams. Whereas, Microsoft makes real money now. It's probably trading at whatever 30, 35 times, which is somewhat real. So there's a whole different class of stocks that, some are just garbage and they're going to get exposed. So it's like, a good environment, covers all sins. It's like Warren Buffett says, when the tide goes out, we find out who's been wearing bathing suits or not. And it's the same thing with these stocks. So I think this easy money environment, you've been able to keep these zombie companies afloat. So there are a whole bunch of companies like AMC theaters, probably GameStop, probably, just a lot of companies that are able to raise money in the equity markets and the debt markets because money is so easy now. But it's keeping afloat companies that probably shouldn't even be in business. And so, when we get into a harder money environment, you'll find out very quickly which are the real and which aren't. Wakamela wants to look at Nike, NKE. Yeah, it looks like it's got some resistance here. It's got this reverse triangle going on. These are kind of more first tier stocks, so I kind of don't know that I would play with that. I mean, it does look heavy here. It does look like it's exposed to some kind of pressure on the downside, but there's better stocks to short. It just could be in a big trading range here, and it's inherently a strong stock. Yeah, Shane, I don't really watch these highly liquid stocks. It's like, why ask for more trouble by paying, higher spreads? And, there's just so many instruments that I can, follow that, why go looking for trouble somewhere else? Barnes says FCell had a lot of momentum. Yeah, so FCell, Plug Power, PLUG, Ballard Power, what's it, BLPD or something, all got cracked, recently. And it's just this, this story, this EV story. And on paper, it looks good. Why, shouldn't we be betting on the future? But, that's, I listen to this guy, Jim Cramer, very rarely. He's like a crazy guy. He's more of a fundamentalist. He's a Goldman Sachs guy. And last week he's telling, us all these stocks to buy, and And then I'm looking at the chart behind him. I go, are you high? What are you smoking? These things are going to collapse. So fundamentalists, they buy stories. And the thing is, the market is a discounting effect. So, before you can understand that the story is not real anymore, the market's already, cratered it. So you got to put the story and the picture together. So sometimes I hear things and then I go and look at the chart. To me, the market is the news to me. Price is a discounting mechanism. The market is the news. If I want to go and find out where the market's going to go, I look at price. I'm not going to listen to Kramer. I'm not going to listen to Powell. I'm not going to listen to Warren Buffett. I listen to the market. All right, guys, I think I'm going to end it there. Thanks for checking in. I hope you have a healthy and prosperous trading day. And, I'll speak to you during the week.